Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, and all right, okay. Um,
All right, Rebecca, we can hear you.
all right. Oh, okay. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blockchain Foundations workshop. It's an exciting time to have us all here again, and we're going to be talking about the blockchain once again. So the Blockchain Foundation workshop is an initiative by Africa Blockchain Institute and the University of Namibia, and it's a workshop where we get to talk about the blockchain. And if you're familiar with the blockchain, we know that it's the fourth revolution, like we like to call it, and the blockchain has so many use cases, so many. The blockchain started with the introduction of Bitcoin, and now it has grown so wild. The blockchain is used in gaming. The blockchain is used in the DeFi sector. It's used for voting. It's used for tracking animals. It's used for land recording. It's used for NFTs and a whole lot of things. So we're going to be talking about that today, as well as a host of other things. But this workshop is focused on, introducing, the blockchain and the technological development that the blockchain is currently undergoing in the world today. Now, this event is going to be split into two sessions, with the first session talking about understanding the blockchain technology, and the second session is going to be industry application of the blockchain technology. And we have such an interesting lineup of speakers and facilitators that are going to be taking us through this workshop today. And, I'd like to introduce facilitators, just, call them by name so we know just about how interesting a lineup we have. So we have Charles Okafor, who is the co-founder of Blockchain Lab. We have Roslyn Wanjiru, who is the CMO of Pesabase, and Kayode Babarinde, which is not even, that's just, the beginning of the lineup that we have. We also have Professor Ansia Peters. She's who is the Pro VC Research Innovation and Development, UNAM. We have Dr. Samuel Nungulu, who is the HOD, Department of Computing, Mathematical and Statistical Science, University of Namibia. So we have such an interesting lineup of facilitators for us today. And I really can't wait, to meet our facilitators and speakers and get right into what we're about to talk about today. So today we are, here because of the Blockchain Foundation workshop, which is an initiative of the Africa Blockchain Institute and the University of Namibia. So I'm going to, allow the Executive Director of ABI, the Africa Blockchain Institute, Kayode Babarinde, to give his welcome speech, and then we can go right into what we have for today. So Kayode, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and welcome again, everyone, for joining us today at the Blockchain Foundation workshop, which is co-organized by the Africa Blockchain Institute and the University of Namibia. I'm sure prior to now, most of us might have heard about blockchain technology. There have been several conversations about the use cases and also policies across the world have been raised towards the use of this technology. So today we're going to really talk really much more about what it is we have learned previously and how we can even take it much more further from where it is we have learned. Starting with the basic, we're having Ms. Roslyn Wanjiru to help us out, which is the Chief Marketing Officer of Pesabase, on a basic introduction to blockchain technology, while also moving towards the industrial application of the blockchain technology itself. We'll be having Charles Okafor, who happens to be the Chief Technology Officer of Conversity Blockchain Hub. At Africa Blockchain Institute, we are very, very passionate about the deployment and the use of blockchain, adoption of blockchain across the country, across Africa. We are very passionate about building blockchain capacity across Africa for digital transformation. And with this, we have three priorities that is guiding us in our operation. Part of which is the blockchain education, which obviously we are doing here today, to educate as many professionals as possible that are really very passionate, also interested about the use case and interested in use of blockchain technology in their profession or even beyond. The next is the blockchain research, which happened to be one of our big success for this year. This year we'll cover 4 countries to understand what they are doing and what they are using blockchain technology for. And we hope on the next second edition, we hope to expand the rest of other countries on the continent to really understand what people are using blockchain technology for and how they can move it forward. And many thanks to Agora Foundation for supporting us in that research. And lastly is the blockchain deployment. I mean, we have government, multinationals, and even private corporate organizations as well that are very much interested to deploy blockchain technology for whatever use cases they want it in their organization. And we are glad to really be supportive to help them deploy technology. So again, I want to welcome everyone to this program, to this workshop, and more importantly, we'd like to really appreciate and thank the University of Namibia for this collaboration. And I want to wish us all a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much, everyone. Rebecca.
Thank you, Kayode. Thank you for the welcome speech. So we are going to get right into it. And I'm going to be calling our first key address, which is going to be given to us by Professor Ansia Peters, who is the Pro VC Research, Innovation and Development, University of Namibia. Professor Ansia Peters, are you here with us?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today, and thank you so much to the ABI as well as to the UNAM colleagues who have been co-organizing this workshop today. I believe that this workshop today is the first one of many, and I hope that we will see shorter frequencies between the various training initiatives and as well as longer sort of degree programs that we will be starting. Also, we would like to see some projects that will be taking off so that our students can really learn to use blockchain technologies in real life applications, as was said, that blockchain has so many use cases and used across such a wide range of application areas. Now, one of the things is at the time when this MOU was concluded between UNAM and ABI, it came actually at a very opportune time, because at that point in time was when the was actually when the whole green hydrogen initiative started. And if any of you on here doesn't know yet what is going on in the green hydrogen space worldwide, and in particular in Namibia, then I implore you to please read up more about that. The University of Namibia has established the Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute. And under that research institute, we actually have 6 centers under that. And one of the center is devoted to purely focus on digital and emerging technologies. For the green hydrogen economy, blockchain technologies is one of the key technologies. And in fact, you will see that there are big centers being developed that focuses on blockchain technologies because of its importance with renewable energies, because you have to trace essentially along the entire value chain to ensure that the energy used in whatever product that you are utilizing was in fact green. The green hydrogen economy also needs digital currencies. And so we will see that governments will also start to embrace the use of digital currencies. And then of course you have the cryptocurrencies as well. And we see that Nigeria on the African continent has already gone that way and is already rolling out their products in it. So one of the questions that I was asked early on, when we started establishing the Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute, was I was asked, what do we have blockchain technology specialists in Namibia, and how many? And unfortunately, for that answer, I couldn't answer on that. Number one, because I didn't know how many there were. I didn't survey them. And number two, I didn't know which industries had it. I mean, we know that it's blockchain technologies is also used extensively in healthcare, but I did not know what application areas there were in Namibia and where it was in particular, what are the skill sets that we are having. And then I was asked that we have to ensure that we make sure that we are building the skills base for blockchain technologies as we are embarking upon our new green hydrogen future. So this is essentially at the time when the MOU came into being, that we said that it is becoming very urgent that we have to build a critical skills base within Namibia, and who else and who better to do it with than with ABI. The next thing that happened as well is as soon as we started embarking on this, it's, we had a lot of, not a lot, but some few people locally in Namibia reaching out to us and saying that they have been, I think just yesterday, somebody came to me and said that he had actually done a master's in blockchain technologies elsewhere, and he had returned to Namibia. So we started having sort of local interest in local, external to the university people who started coming on board and saying, look, I've got the skills and I've been sort of itching to start teaching it and to start sharing with others. So I hope that as we are progressing, further into our relationship and further into the quest of building blockchain technology skill sets within the country, that we will see a, sort of more partners, even locally, coming on board to sort of assist in that quest that we're having. And with that, then, I really think that this is a very long overdue workshop. And therefore, again, applause must go to the participants as well as to the organizers. And I really want to thank you, everybody, for making the time and being here today. And may we see the outcomes of this very quickly also applied in practical environments. Thank you.
So much, Dr. Peters. Thank you. So we are going to be going to the next. We'll be moving on to the next session, which is the first session of the event, and it's going to be anchored by Roslyn Wanjuru, who is the CMO of Pesabase. And this session, we are going to be learning about understanding blockchain technology. Now, before we go on to the next session, if you have any questions, kindly put your questions in the chat box so we could, get back to the question when we are done with that particular session. So we, Roslyn and all the other facilitators will answer your question. If you have any question for Dr. Antia Peters, please write it down in the chat box, and then we'll get to it later. So this is the first session, and it's understanding blockchain technology. Roslyn, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. Allow me to proceed by sharing my screen. All right, I'm deeply honored and delighted to be part of today's session. My background as an economist is that I realized we have several gaps in terms of understanding the future of economics, right? So I got researching into, what the future of economics could be in a context where we are using technology in basically every platform and every, as a tool of work. And in this conference, I realized that there are interest areas in cybersecurity. So by then seeing blockchain technology as a possible solution to cybersecurity, I realized that that would definitely be a huge interest area in terms of both research and application. So by this session, I intend that we will have the learning outcomes in understanding the fundamentals of blockchain technology. We will have a clear understanding of what this technology is, and we will appreciate the key challenges and opportunities which are associated with the technology. So by definition, in beginning this session, what is a blockchain? You've probably heard this term being used several times, and there are so many context definitions and use cases which are applied to it. Some of them are futuristic, some of them are not exactly practical, but what is this? I'm sure in one context or another, you have used a list, either to keep your records or to keep track of certain things. So blockchain is a list by its simplest essence, and it's a type of a distributed ledger. This means that instead of keeping the records in a centralized fashion, you're keeping the records in a fashion that is in several computers or several storage points at the same time. For instance, if I were to ask you at this point, what is the time? You will tell me that it is let's say 17 minutes past the hour, okay? And depending on your time zone, you should be able to confirm whether this is accurate or this is not accurate. A blockchain works in the same way, therefore, by being able to assure you that a specific record is accurate across different requests for verification. Now, in a blockchain, a set of records is linked chronologically, and then it's added in a set of blocks. That's why you have a blockchain. So in every block, you have a bundle of transactions which are set to a specific limit. So let's say if it's 50 transactions or 100 transactions, if it's even 5 transactions, then these transactions are specific to one blockchain. Different blockchains have different limits, but we can get into that into another technical session. Now, everyone in the network who has access to these records has an up-to-date copy of the same record. It's in the same way that, for instance, I would ask you about the time. It's something that you can verify publicly. Another thing is that a blockchain then presents a single source of truth since it's immutable. One of the things and one of the properties that is extremely valuable about a blockchain is that you cannot tamper with a record. If you want to change record 8 or record 800, you'd have to change all the records right from the first one up to that one. Since it takes a lot or intense computing power to actually achieve that, it discourages or it disincentivizes then tampering such records, thereby making it one of the most secure technologies that we have up to date. So I hope that that foundation is clear to us. So in a blockchain, if we were to tear it apart or we were to break it down, what will we see? First, you have a transaction request. For example, A wants to send money to B, or you want to send money to someone else, or you want to send a different kind of record to another person. It doesn't have to be money. Secondly, we will have a form of node validation, whereby this transaction is counter-checked to make sure that it's the only transaction of its nature occurring at that point in time. So for example, if you want to send 2 files to a specific person, the blockchain makes sure that you are the sender and the recipient is the same. It assigns that a specific identity, and then by assigning that specific identity, which you can call a digital signature or a hash, then no other transaction will have the same kind of hash as at that time. So that hash will undergo a process of validation. And by the time then that validation is complete, this information is then added to a block. That is the fundamental way in which a blockchain works. Now, what are the benefits of having such a technology? Why is it so important? The first thing and the first principle is of transparency. In the same way that we desire to have transparency, not only in business, but in all across the board, it's that we don't want to be held back by the risks of fraud. And if you research into an article called, for instance, the $29 trillion cost of trust, it highlights just how much we have to pay to keep our systems in integrity and how much we lose by there being frauds in our different systems. Whether we want to talk about logistics and whether we want to talk about payments, there's so many instances of frauds that cost us heavily, and you cannot exactly put fraud as a cost on the balance sheet. So the question is, how do we appraise and how do we limit such things so that they don't ultimately cost us? So transparency is the first benefit of such technology, that the same information is stored in all nodes that are on the network. And a node is simply a computer or a confirming entity on the network. The second thing is that you have reduced transaction costs, as intermediaries in this case are either removed or reduced in their impact on the value chain. In a blockchain, it incentivizes that you have peer-to-peer transactions. Peer-to-peer means that party A and party B have a direct channel to each other, and they don't have to go through 4 or 5 parties before the transactions are completed. We go through this almost every day. For example, when you're looking at land registries, when you're looking at healthcare and insurance claims, you actually have to go through several people to get confirmation and get authorization before you get a specific service. So in a blockchain, that kind of intermediation is reduced or eliminated entirely. The third thing is that you have higher trust in the network, and the burden of proof in this case rests on the network rather than a single individual or a single point of failure. So for example, in the claims process, if you have a fraudulent claims officer and they inflate claims, or it's been hard to know that they're the ones who are inflating claims. On a blockchain, it's that by making sure you have instant settlement or instant payment, then this player or this actor does not have room to inflate claims or to frustrate the process or make it last longer than it should. Fourth thing is that on a blockchain, you have immutability. The new frameworks then for global provenance, limiting conflicts in intellectual property, attribution, or protection. And as a quick example, anyone who is in the creative industry has the burden of proof that if I produce a book or I produce any work of art, my interest is in making sure that I have the right to claim that this particular a work of art is mine. If someone else were to counterclaim and they do not have the proof, then it should be that I have the majority of proof to actually claim and make my claim the absolute claim in case there is a dispute, right? Now on a blockchain, it's that if I have such kind of properties such as transparency and immutability, then it means that no one else would counterclaim to that. And a recent use case that has been in the media is that we have many people who are owning and selling non-fungible tokens. That means that you can have an item which is rare, an item which is collectible, and by putting it on the blockchain, you can sell it and earn, in a sense, in perpetuity from it. Okay. I encourage that we have questions in the chat section so that we'll be able to respond to them as the session goes. So what are the challenges currently in this technology? The first major challenge that we have, even before regulation, is the practical understanding of this technology. So there are so many gaps in education that persist across the populace. from citizens to governments. There are people who hear the word blockchain and they shudder because it sounds foreign, it sounds too novel, it sounds complicated, and they don't exactly want to be, caught up in something like that. Different governments have different perceptions toward it because some have outrightly banned it or banned applications of blockchain, some do not support, and some are somewhat favorable. So different levels of understanding have brought the whole spectrum of information that we are hearing or we are receiving at this point in time. But educational initiatives such as the one that we are part of and different courses that you can sign up for will give you a proper understanding as to how you can use this technology for your benefit. Secondly, we have conflicting regulatory guidelines. This also presents challenges for entrepreneurs in the sense that if your country does not support certain properties or certain aspects of this new technology, be it in measures of funding or be it in measures to do with regulations that tighten the applicability of certain business cases, it means that then there's a whole avenue of revenue, the different avenues of revenue, which are yet to be tapped, right? Now, it means that there's a lot of work to be done in collaboration between lawyers, lobbyists, policymakers, and entrepreneurs in creating an enabling environment for both governments and private sectors to collaborate on using new use cases for this technology. Then again, we have limited model use cases. Across various industries, we don't have a solid case with over 50 million or 100 million users of a specific blockchain use case in terms of, let's say, land, healthcare, or even energy. We're in the beginning stages of this, but the beauty of this particular challenge is that we get to experiment, and in this, we get to define which use cases will be ideal for the future. So we will see more use cases which are, for instance, mobile phone friendly. For instance, El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin has given a lot of people incentive to learn, the challenges in adoption, the hitches in user experience, and things like that. Because if people find it easy to use, we will understand and be able to appreciate the value of this technology. Now, there are different types of blockchains. As I mentioned, we have permissionless, we have permissioned, and we have consortium. Permissionless blockchains usually refer or use a mechanism called proof of work. This means that anybody can participate in the network as long as they have the technical resources to do so. Benefits of it is that there's no censorship in the system, and it's purely borderless, that you have a truly global network that can give or avail a forum or a network or a platform to validate transactions in a way that is, as we said, transparent and tamper-proof. However, the disadvantages to this is that there's extremely high power consumption, which has been one of the biggest critiques against the use of such technology. However, there's high network security because before you tamper with one out of, let's say, 500 or 5,000 or 10,000 nodes in the network, it's a high disincentive to actually tamper with the network. Then another disadvantage is that they tend to be slow. For instance, the Bitcoin blockchain tends to have only 5 transactions per second. The Ethereum blockchain as at now has been at 15 transactions per second. But that there are technical proposals to improve that kind of throughput. In permission blockchains, these may use a different kind of algorithm to verify transactions. For instance, the proof of stake algorithm. Participation in the network is preconditioned on certain technical resources and other pertinent qualifications. So for example, if we look at the healthcare industry, you are dealing with sensitive information and public and data that should not be made public at any point in time. So in this case, you're dealing with restrictions in data control, data access, and data privacy. So in terms of network security, you're looking at people who must agree to certain restrictions and conditions before they are given access to such data. Another thing is that such blockchains tend to have efficient power consumption, and they tend to be faster for transactions. However, certain levels of censorship may be implemented in the network. The third thing for consortium or hybrid blockchains, these combine certain aspects of both public, that is permissioned, and permissionless networks. So these might optimize network security. They have efficient or tend to have efficient power usage. The censorship is controlled, and the speed is optimized for transactions. I'll say don't worry about grasping all these advantages and disadvantages at the same time. What you can grab from, what you can understand from these three typologies is that they are permissioned, permissionless, and hybrid networks of blockchains. So this is the onto use cases. Now, when we talk about use cases of blockchain technology, it's as wide then as we would consider where we need information security, where we need a limitation of fraud, where we need a reduction of the role or the power of intermediaries, and where we need transparency in the network to all parties who are involved. Those are the key benefits that you're looking at for each one of these industries. So I will group them into four. For example, issues to do with banking and finance, issues to do with provenance, healthcare, and I'll pick as well education. There are so many use cases, but this presentation will be shared so that you can delve into each use case at your own time. So in terms or in matters banking and the financial industry, we're already seeing discussions around the use of central bank digital currencies and stable coins. Now, these two implementations are that we would wish or we would desire to control matters of inflation and increase financial transparency. Well, tracking the monetary flow of any national currency is extremely difficult because once cash leaves a person's hand, it's extremely difficult even to try to trace unless by some special mechanism these notes are already pre-traced. Now, if you have a digital currency, which every person in the country has access to this kind of currency, then you can tell where the money is flowing from. You can tell as a government where to introduce new avenues of either revenue or taxation in that sense. Now, in terms of credit history, if you have a bank and you're using this on a blockchain, say for example, you're looking to increase your credit score or to increase your reputation in terms of access to credit across different banks. A blockchain which is shared across these different banking systems would actually enable you to have such a reputation which will improve your credit score based on other factors other than, for instance, if you have never accessed credit before. So this opens new avenues of business and new lines of credit then for small and medium enterprises. Okay. In terms of education and the in academia, one of the things we're looking at is especially the digitization and verification of certificates. There's so many people who, once they lose their academic credentials, are not able to go back to their schools, maybe because they've moved to other countries or they have gone to other professions. And if they're asked for their academic certificates, then they're not able then to go back to those schools and have those records traced, maybe because at some point they were disposed of, or such problems happen, and it makes it a headache. But if this is on a blockchain, it means that anywhere you are in the world, you should be able to show that these are your academic credentials, and you should be able to access opportunities, not being limited because this particular old record was destroyed or tampered with. Okay. In terms of energy as an industry, well, how can blockchain be used? One exciting use case has been in the field of energy trading, whereby if you have, let's say, a solar system installed in your neighborhood, and there are several people who have the same, you can be able to sell the excess power that you have and directly sell to each other without relying on the main supplier of electricity in your region. So this would actually work ideally with a system that has net metering. But if you look at what, for instance, Power Ledger has done in Australia and Melanin Solar in, I think, Zimbabwe or Zambia, you'll be able to understand how such a system works. But ideally, it introduces the concept of being a prosumer, that is a producer and a consumer, such that if I produce my power and I have excess units, then I should be able to sell them or gain them so that they don't sit idle in my, in my storage capacity. In terms of healthcare, a blockchain is extremely beneficial in the sense that I have a singular identity such that if I, as a patient, step into one medical facility, I don't need to have a whole fresh set of registration or forms to fill. They may not even have my medical history. If I go to a different medical facility, if I go to, for instance, 4 medical facilities and I have an ID that's tied to a blockchain, it should be that once I step in, they are able to access my information and medical history, of course, subject to certain data protection guidelines, right? But it should be that once I step in, I don't have to fill form, or no one has to fill forms for me. My KYC is taken care of, right? My information, my identity. That is the basics: age, weight, height, just things that they don't necessarily have to measure through like blood pressure or something like that, right? But in terms of my identity, then being verified and being a form of my medical history also being attached to my, my let's say a medical wallet, it should make it easier for me to trace the kind of drugs that I have taken. It should make it easier even for a physician to diagnose if I have underlying conditions or presenting symptoms which might indicate underlying conditions, right? So these are the things in terms of medical information that even patients, when they have higher awareness of their own information, it's that they're empowered to make better decisions, okay? For the creative industry, music streaming is going to be a huge space for blockchain, whereby musicians and artists do not have to rely on publishing, not publishing, but recording labels to, distribute their music. One of the biggest debates in the recent years about, the current structure of earning from music has been, if the record label takes the lion's share of your profits, then what's the sustainability of relying on royalties for your income, right? So as the music industry diversifies and as the music industry grows in the next 10 to 15 years, I know we will see more blockchain applications in the space. In terms of real estate, we should be able to see transparency, especially in land ownership. In countries where, for instance, the government does not own the land in entirety, but private citizens own it, you tend to have cases whereby one person is trying to sell the same land to 5 different people. And because each of these 5 different people do not have the same level of access to proving that this land is even counter-owned or being sold to other people at the same time, there's so many cases then which tend to build up in that case that you find that if you have a claim, 4 other people are having the same claim to the same land. That should not be the case if you have a blockchain-based system implemented. So in principle, you're looking at industries where we don't want fraud destroying the integrity of the system and keeping people out of the benefits that are rightfully theirs. So I will not dwell too much on the history of money as having cryptocurrencies as a first use case of blockchain, but I'll mention for this particular point in time that a cryptocurrency is a set of digital signatures which represent value. That's the heart of it. So this value could be monetary as it relates to utility tokens, or it could be non-monetary, as we have looked at the different use cases in the slide before, that we are looking at the representation of a contract or an asset, okay? And if I go back to, for instance, looking at medical, the medical industry or healthcare, my information being represented or my personal data being represented as a token, it's non-monetary value, but I need this information attached to a specific signature that no one else has, so that you even avoid cases of misdiagnosis, you avoid cases of wrong assignment of drugs and things like that at a pharmacy. Okay. And even, this also applies to travel, that I should be able to link my passport, my identification, and that definitely makes it easier for me as a passenger to reduce check-in times, to reduce burden of proof in terms of verification at airports and things like that. Okay. So a cryptocurrency then is just that it's a digital signature which represents value, and this value could be monetary or non-monetary. So one thing we can consider then, there are different careers that are tied to this technology, but because of time, I'll just highlight that we have three major categories of careers that are tied to this industry. There are careers in the legal space, whereby you're looking at arbitration, you're looking at policy, considering the level of regulation that has to go into creating enabling frameworks for entrepreneurs and governments to collaborate on this technology. We're also looking at careers to do with business or commerce and media, communications, design, and the third category of careers is in terms of the technical aspects. So from software architecture, design, user experience, those are the kind of careers that you can think about in terms of getting started with this technology. So you don't need to be a developer, you don't need to be a software engineer to be proficient in the blockchain industry. So what's the future of this industry? We are already seeing the emergence of national digital currencies. Financial and economic adoption will lead the curve. The government agencies, which for instance, Dubai and Estonia, which have adopted some aspects of this technology. You can look at what they've done with smart government and such concepts, and we will have integration with Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and other technologies. Because if you understand then that a blockchain is integral to data integrity, it means that we're also looking at the sources of this data, that we need credible ways to make sure that the kind of data that is getting in is also, it's authentic, it's verifiable, and by the time you're adding the permanence of a blockchain, then you don't have hiccups in the system. So now we can proceed to the questions. We are at the beginning of this technology and its adoption. So the question is, knowing that you can have a possible career path, and knowing that this technology is in its beginning stages, what do you think you will be able to take up within this industry? We are the ones to tell the story, and we're the ones to contribute to its development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. That was such, I don't even know the right words to use in describing that presentation, but that was so elaborate, so enlightening. And we have some questions for you, but we are going to take just one question, and then the rest of the questions, we are going to deal with them during the Q&A. Would that be okay?
Yes.
All right, so now, which of the questions should we answer? Okay, who is the founder of the blockchain technology? What are, I think this is like a 2-in-1 question, but let's just answer one or two. Let's make it two. All right. Who is the founder of the blockchain technology? What are the details around discovering this technology? So I think let's just deal with that. I think your answer is going to cover the rest.
All right, who is the founder of this technology? Well, we don't have one specific founder. However, the person or entity or group known as Satoshi Nakamoto has been credited with the emergence of the Bitcoin white paper, and therefore indirectly then the confluence of blockchain technology. Before blockchain, there have been similar proposals on distributed ledgers, and if you look at the concept papers around distributed ledgers, bringing together some of these concepts around e-money and financial, trying to move away from centralized systems, you'll see it's a body of information rather than a single person who brought it all together.
No.
Is it as
Right.
bulletproof as it is claimed to be? For now, yes, unless someone really comes up with a way of overcoming the challenges in terms of computing power, or they have an extremely powerful computer, then it's very hard for them to hack that.
Okay, Andrew, we are going to get to the rest of your questions during the Q&A. So thank you so much, Rosalind. The session was so wonderful. So we have to move to the next session, session 2, which is industry application of blockchain. And Charles Okafor, the CTO of Convexity Blockchain Lab, will be handling that session. So Charles, the floor is yours, so you can take over the session.
Hello, good day, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir, we can.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Charles Okafumba, just as Rebecca introduced me. And I'll be taking you on the next session. But let me share my slide. Let me know when you can see my slide. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes,
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. So I'll try to be as fast as possible because I have lots of things to share. So the learning objective for this session will be centered around identifying some basic blockchain. So basic blockchain and DLT terminologies, differentiate between permission and permissionless blockchain, understanding the possibilities and use case of blockchain, and then how to make informed decision about using the blockchain. Some of what I was meant to present has actually been taken, so I'm going to skip some of my slides. About me, so I'm the CTO of Convexity. At Convexity, we actually a blockchain solution and consulting firm, and then we also run a blockchain hub, which happens to be the first blockchain hub in Nigeria, and I think I can also say in Africa, where we incubate and accelerate blockchain startups on solution. I have 15 years developing tech solution, 5 years in creating decentralized application on the blockchain, and some other stuff which are up on the slide. That's just a little about me. Now, introduction. So the blockchain, I will skip a whole lot of my slides, but I think the first, Rosalind has covered most of this. Welcome to mathematical framework that is free of politics and human error. It is remarkable cryptographic achievements. It's a remarkable cryptographic achievement which promises be one of the world's most important development. This is just telling you that the blockchain as it is can be seen as a truth machine. Truth machine in the sense that it is verifiable and then it is immutable. So blockchain terminologies. I just want us to get the basic languages or terminologies of the blockchain, then move in deeper. Blockchain, which is a continuous and growing append-only list of record called blocks, which are linked and secured using cryptography. The next, where's my slide? Okay, permission and non-permission. So I think we already got this from the first presenter, right? Permission being a private blockchain, private network, where for you to be part of the node, you need to be allowed to come into the network. Permissionless is the one we have all around us, the Ethereum, the Bitcoin, the BNB, and you don't need anybody's permission to be part of the network. We even have the hybrid kind of blockchain system, and then the consortium kind of a blockchain system. Majorly, the permission, the hybrid type and the consortium type are used by enterprises and private organizations. Then let's talk about custodial now. in the blockchain system, we have people that we call custodians, right? They custody assets. Now, a person or a system that is responsible or looks after something in the banking environment, custodians are specialized financial institutions responsible for. So in the blockchain system now, in the blockchain world, we have companies that are custodying funds, right? They create systems where they are acting like banks, if I'll put it that way. People go to them and then they give them their digital assets like to hold, or they even provide such services for crypto exchanges, right? The exchanges use their vault, if I'll put it that way, to custody or to hold their digital assets. And those digital assets belongs to people. Now we have the block reward. The block reward is actually an incentive for miners who successfully calculate a valid hash in a block during mining. So the Bitcoin, when it came up, right, we have what we call the proof of work, and that proof of work rewards those that are calculating some mathematical questions or some mathematical algorithm to prove that something is what it is, right? So you have a solution and then you are asked to find the workings of that solution. So miners, they try to find the workings of that solution and then they get block rewards for it, which is in this case for Bitcoin, they get some amount of Bitcoin for doing such work. And part of why they are doing that is to also protect the network so that you don't have bad actors coming in to create blocks that are not real or that are fake. Now you have cryptocurrency. Okay, I think I'll jump this. The first speaker said that. Now cyberpunks are actually activists who advocate for the mass adoption and use of strong cryptographic solutions. So actually the movement of Bitcoin or the movement of this whole blockchain system, it was actively powered or pushed by this group of guys, right? Because they were more of like, okay, we need something private. We need to go into, we need data to be private. We need to advocate for privacy. We need to be away from government. We need to be more of like an anarchist, right, to the government or to systems that are that are not giving people their right of freedom of expression and all that. So this group of guys, I think, will attribute where we are currently to their push for privacy or privacy-enabled technologies. Now, cryptographic hash. A cryptographic hash is a digital fingerprint of data. This fingerprint can be generated or used to very easily determine if two data sets match. So in the blockchain world, or how the blocks are created, cryptography is actively used, right? So for a block to be connected to each other, you have the hash of the previous block being used in the next block. So it continues to form a chain. And that is why, like Rosen was saying, for somebody to correct or to change the data of a block, you need to move down to the other chains, to the other blocks to change those data, and you need a whole lot of computing powers to do that. So that is why the immutability of the blockchain is very strong as it is. So a hash, if you have an input, and the input, what it generates is constant or is consistent. It's a tweak to that input. Let's say, for example, you are changing from small letter f to capital letter F. It changes the hash, right? So that's just what cryptographic hash is all about, just shortly. Now for block, I think this has already been explained. So blocks are like transaction data, what is happening in each of let's say I'm sending a transaction, I want to send funds to somebody, I want to transfer to somebody and order. So that transaction that is happening is being placed in a block. Like I explained, the hash of a block is attached to the next block, and then that next block, that hash is also attached to the next. So you have a chain of block. That's why I call it actually the blockchain. The next slide. Block cipher, an incentive for miners who successfully calculate a valid hash in a block. So miners, like I said, are also being paid for what they do in the system. Now, you also heard about the initial coin offering, and this is a way where we are in a decentralized world, right? And companies, the traditional companies, they do what we call an IPO. An IPO is more of like you raise funds from the public, but you have all these middlemen in between doing the paperwork. You have the banks doing the custody of the fund, and you have the government regulators and all this. But for the blockchain, the ICO, which is called the initial coin offering, is a way of generating fund, like a crowdfunding system, right? So you have blockchain startups coming online and say, hey guys, we want to do this. Can you guys fund us? And then this is what you get for funding us and all that. So, and this has actually been booming, but it has gone through lots of phases, right? You have the ICO back in the era of 2017, 2018. Then you have right now you have the IEO, you have the IDO, and all that, like exchange. So it's still evolving, and then it's to keep on evolving. The space is still young. Now, continue. Now, coin and altcoin. You've heard of coin and you have heard of altcoin. So a coin is it's a cryptocurrency that operates independently, right? So you have them operating on the protocol layer. Then you have the altcoins. These altcoins are Bitcoin is actually the first coin. Then other coins we refer to them as altcoin, right? The ones that came after Bitcoin. Now, decryption. Decryption is the process of transforming data that has been rendered unreadable through encryption back onto its original form, or unencrypting it, right? Block Explorer. So for block explorers is a way, when we say the blockchain is open, right? You can view what transactions are happening. If somebody is sending fund from a particular address or a particular account to somebody else, you can independently verify to know, okay, this is what was sent, this was when it was sent, this is the block that it was attached to, and then this was who it was sent to, and all those informations are quite open. And for you as a layperson or somebody that is not that computer a programmer, or that doesn't know how to use command line to get this information, block explorers happen to be an easy way to check the blockchain, right? To know how values have been transferred from one person to another. So you have lots of companies that have created block explorers for each blockchain, right? So you have block explorer for Bitcoin, you have block explorer for Ethereum, you have block explorer for BSC and all that. So there are many block explorers, even for private networks, right? There are still block explorers that can be created to help you to see what is happening in the block and all that. Now, DAO.
Hello, Charles, are you there?
We lost him due to the network. So I'll wait for him to get back in. Rosalind, if Rosalind is still with us, can she just, answer some of the questions while we wait for Charles to get back in?
All right, here. So I was actually just typing out one of the responses. So let me switch.
Okay, so we have item number. Okay, it's back.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Apologies
for Rosalind. Thanks a bunch.
Apologies, my system decided to give me my network, sorry. Share my screen again. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, so now for still on terminologies, right? Blockchain terminologies, we have what we call the decentralized autonomous organizations. Now, these are acting like corporations, right? Or your traditional corporation, but this time around it's a decentralized system whereby for those that number one, the organization is being run by codes, right? Codes in the sense that you need to be part of the network, you need to have their token, or you need to have, in the traditional world, we'll call it shares of a company. But this time around, you are having their token, like a digital or for people to have those that will have higher vote when it comes to vote going to happen. Now, we want to create some incentive for them and all that. So this is an organization that have actually been, it is a digital organization, right? It's a decentralized organization because anybody can be part of that organization by virtue of the coin or the token you have, right? And then whichever profit that comes from what these organizations are doing online, based on the fact that you are holding their coin, you get you get some incentive or you get paid for it and all that. So now we have the distributed ledger technology. Now, the distributed ledger technology is more of like a general name for the blockchain system, because it's not just it's not just blockchain we have some other DLTs, right, that are even faster than some blockchain, because the blockchain is based on how fast the blockchain is can be attributed to what we call the consensus mechanism, right? That is the ability of it to generate blocks and then add those blocks to the list of the network and all that. So there are a whole lot of systems like that. So distributed ledgers are ledgers in which data are stored across a network of decentralized nodes. So a distributed ledger does not necessarily involve cryptocurrency and maybe permissioned and private. So you must have, I don't know, some of you must have heard about Hedera hash graph, right? You must have heard of hash graph, you must have heard of DAG, you must have heard of I've forgotten the name, but there are different DLT solutions out there that some people are comfortable using. Now you have still on terminologies, you have JOMO, FOMO, and FEUD. Now, JOMO, you just need to be careful if you are going to play in the space, both public space. Majorly, this is for public space, right? You have acronym like joy of missing out, right? You see people, they don't want to miss out, and then there's that joy in them. They keep on coming. Most often used by no coiners, right? They are not part of the system, but they are happy not to be part of the system. Maybe they see people losing their money and then they are happy. So that's the joy of missing out. Fear of missing out is more of like you see a coin pumping and then most people are afraid. They just want to rush in to start. They want to make money from such a pump or such something that is happening in the system. Now, FEUD is a fear, uncertainty and doubt, which has majorly happened during 2017, 2018, when you have the media, you have the government, everybody bashing and criticizing the blockchain and Bitcoin and all that, but now they are all jumping in. So all this I'm saying now is just to lead us to where I want us to go, which is the enterprise and use cases for blockchain. So we have some of that covered at the first. Okay, I'm going to jump this. Now I'm going to leave it at here. Now DeFi, blockchain, where you have now we are seeing people building traditional financial solutions on the blockchain. You have insurance, decentralized insurance. You have loan, people providing loan. You have people even in the agri sector using DeFi for agri. So you have lots of solutions coming on board, which these are normal services being provided by banks, but you now see decentralized solution Now, when I say decentralized solution, I mean you have a smart contract. Smart contracts are just codes, right, on the blockchain. You have codes that are created together, added together, and then it forms a software, and then that software is actually deployed on the blockchain like Ethereum or smart contract blockchain. Now, some people can create such a code and place it there, and then you as a person, if you have excess fund, you can come to that platform, buy a token, maybe buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of these tokens, put it on the platform. Now, me as I need that fund, and I have an asset, a physical asset somewhere. I can come to that platform, give them a certificate of my platform, and then transfer ownership of that my asset to them to collect your money from the platform, right? So that's a decentralized way of lending currently. And now that lending that is happening on the platform has interest. So the interest is not distributed to those that are providing the fund. So it's unlike what the banks are doing, right? You have the banks collecting all the interest and all that, but this time around distribution is coming. Distributed systems are coming, and then people are doing that, and they don't need the banks anymore. You have for insurance is already happening and all that. Now you have DeFi, then Hyperledger. Hyperledger is another kind of a blockchain system. So these systems or softwares you can use to deploy your own private blockchain. Now, say for example, a central bank wants to deploy their private blockchain for CBDC and all that. These are some of the solutions they use. We are still going to get to that. We have more slides coming. Mining, I'm going to skip the smart contract. Okay, so I already explained a little about smart contract. Smart contract is a term used to describe computer codes that automatically execute all or parts of an agreement and is stored on a blockchain-based platform. So I think I already explained a little bit about what smart contract is. So these are just code placed on a blockchain system like Ethereum or Turing complete enabled kind of blockchain. Even Bitcoin right now, you can even with the deployment of Taproot, it has made Bitcoin to like be executable right now. So you can even deploy some applications on Bitcoin using just create a smart contract and all that. Okay, proof of work and proof of stake. I think I've explained this, but we are going to get to that later on. Proof of developer code. I'm skipping this. Fork. Now, fork is when you have the blockchain as it is growing. You know, it's an append only. Blocks are being added. Blocks are being added. Now, let's say, for example, wants to be updated or wants to be moving from the chain that is happening to maybe another chain that will take the new form or that we enable the new software modification that has been done on the blockchain client or the blockchain system itself. So it's forked and then it continues from there. Also, a fork can also happen if there is a break in the software, in the blockchain. So maybe a hacker was able to break the software, the mining system of the blockchain, and then force their own block into the blockchain network. So the community can agree, and then it's forked away and all that. For example, a very good example of this fork that happened, we can say the Ethereum blockchain, right? You have the Ethereum Classic, and then you have the Ethereum that is currently running. You also have the Bitcoin, and then you have the Bitcoin Cash, you have the Bitcoin Gold, and all those stuff that happen. So it's just they fork away, and then they create their own. Some of them fork the main code, right, and go create their own. While some just fork away from the network as it's growing. Mnemonic keys and all that. Now, mnemonic keys are ways of more of like they are used for wallet systems, right? So you have people that have wallets, and then for in order to securely recover your wallet, when you are generating what we call a non-custodial kind of a wallet. Non-custodial kind of wallet in the sense that as you are generating it, the security and the security of that wallet falls on you, right? You need to keep that secure, you need to keep that safe. If you lose that, that's for custodial. And in order for you to be able to recover that, you need this, this mnemonic phrase to be able to do that, which have been explained on the screen there. Then you have the custodial kind of wallet. This custodial kind of wallet is what some platforms are providing. Like you have Binance, for those of you that have heard of Binance, or some of these centralized exchanges. Now, these centralized exchanges, they are holding your private key, or they are holding this mnemonic key and all that with them. So it's being kept with them, and then they just give you a simple password, right? So they ask you to just create any password you want to create in order for you to be able to access their platform. Then they show you your records of what you are giving. So they're acting like the traditional banks, right? That you have an account with them, and then you know how much you want to spend. You tell them, send this money from this person to there. So they do all that. And so those are like offering you custodial kind of a system. While for the non-custodial, you are in charge of it. You can transfer, you can do whatever you want to do and all the stuff at any time of the day. Stablecoin and gold back on. Let me skip this. I'll skip this. This blockchain is so I just need to rush the slide. Now let me explain technology work. So I just want to send Bob some Bitcoin. The proposed transaction is broadcasted to everyone on the network. The miners verify, propose transaction, and bundle them into blocks. They race to work out. The answer. That's the cryptographic puzzle I talked about earlier on. Now the winner adds his block to the chain, which is now Bitcoin. Then everyone in the network receive a copy of the updated chain, and the transaction is complete. So this is just a simple flow of how blocks are being created and how this transaction happens on the blockchain. Key features of a blockchain: decentralized technology, distributed ledger, fast settlement, cannot be corrupted, security, and then the consensus mechanism of the block, understanding how the blockchain works and what's expected. Recently, I did a little migration for a financial institution, and that is one thing you need to be careful when you're trying to build on the blockchain, because the blockchain system is not like your normal legacy database, right? Where you can easily download data, and then after downloading data, you take it to another server and all that. The blockchain doesn't work like that. So if you are going to have a private or enterprise blockchain system, you need to be aware that data, transferring data or moving data around doesn't come easy. So if I'm going to use a blockchain as a service system, why I'm trying to emphasize on this is because recently a company actually shut down their blockchain as a service, and then we needed to migrate to move the data or migrate to another provider and all that, and it wasn't as easy as it is sounding currently, because if the service being provided, or if the client or the solution being provided as the blockchain cannot be run independently by your own in-house team, or you cannot easily find a solution that you can take your data, take the blockchain client and everything and put it in their own server or in their own cloud system, then you run into a big issue, right? So you need to be careful when choosing the kind of blockchain service that will be provided for you by the cloud providers or the cloud service company. Don't know if that is clear, but I'm open for question. Now, planning for evolving landscape. Now, permission versus permissionless blockchain approach, open source and so now how do you plan your movement into the blockchain system? You need to look at, okay, if this solution is going to be on, is it going to be on a private blockchain or a permission blockchain, or is it good to be on a permissionless blockchain? Now, some people have advocated, okay, why is government not creating CBDC on the permissionless blockchain? It is going to make them free. It's going to make people trust the government and all this stuff. And I don't think the government wants will want that. Governments are more of like, they want control. So for something that is being used as a control for government use money to control the people, and now you want to you're thinking that government will want to move such a solution to a public space and all that. I don't think that would be possible. So even as an institution, right, you might not really want to move some of your solutions to the public blockchain. You might want to use a permission or a private blockchain to do that. So these are some of the questions. So these are some of things you need to think about when trying to build or move to the blockchain system itself. Okay, there's a development language itself and the tools to support to develop the smart contracts and all that. I think my screen can do justice to that. Now, saving the environment with blockchain technology. Now, blockchain as it is has also come to even help out with saving the environment. Now, this technology has the potential to revolutionize the way businesses and governance that generate carbon is checkmated and green energy encouraged. Now, the CBDC that is coming out, right? Governments or institutions, central banks are trying to come up with their own CBDC. Now, what is this doing, right? You have, like, let me use, for example, the Nigerian government that they are using billions of naira, I think 5 billion or thereabouts, to create like 3 billion naira, right? So you see that it's unnecessary waste and spending. Number one, you are using materials, you are printing, you are cutting down trees, you are using chemicals and all that. But with an electronic version of a country's fiat, you're already saving the environment. Gamifying rewards for energy, for green energy adoption, just like Rosalind said, there are already energy companies that, excuse me, energy companies that are even selling the remnants of energy that they produce and all that. So with a blockchain system, you can actually encourage people to go green energy and then be able to sell that green energy in a marketplace to people. It's already happening actually. You see people selling the remnants of their energy to others close by and all that. And they use the blockchain system to easily reward and exchange value because it is fast. Right? You can have transaction speed and all that happening on the blockchain based on the kind of blockchain you use. Now, for certificate and document, I think that is already happening. If you have an e-copy or if you have certificates electronically generated, you don't need to cut down trees and then do the whole chemicals and all those stuff that disrupt the solar system and the earth. Now, ready market and social benefits. These are all potentials we can talk about. Benefits to government. Now, for blockchain also is beneficial to government because number one, it can increase citizens' engagement through identity management and transaction validation, transparent and traceable data, new revenue source from value-added service, and then increase public trust achieved through transparency and verifiable platform. These are all doable with the blockchain, which can be beneficial to the government. Now, business use cases, right? Now we are seeing value transfer to be easy. Web 2.0 was more of like a decentralized information, right? Anybody can come online, you post whatever I want to post, people will get it and then they read and then you get feedback and all that. You have Twitter out there, making people to more of like turning everybody to a newscaster or new broadcaster and all that. So you have social media doing all that. You have people having blogs, you have websites and all that. So information has been decentralized. Now Web 3.0, which is the blockchain system, right? You have the transfer of value. So people can easily transfer value from it and then just send it to the person. Previously, it was not possible, but now it is possible. You even have people creating solutions like I talked about decentralized loan system for farmers and others, FarmBits, right? FarmBits, I wanted to show that, but farm and bit.io. So they're already decentralizing loan applications for farmers and all that. Now you have certificate authentication. I think Rosalind have already made mention of that. We even have a solution down here, we call it BitSat, which can be used to authenticate certificates for, which can be used to authenticate certificates and all that. Now you have a contract management system, which we talked about the smart contracts. So you can have code written and then based on some execute. And then there's another aspect of smart contract that if it is on a public blockchain or a permissionless blockchain, it cannot be brought down. And that's what we call, that's what we say, it can be censorship resistance, right? Such kind of blockchain enables censorship resistance application. So say, for example, the government is saying, no, you guys cannot do this, or people cannot do this and all this stuff. And then the system is running on a blockchain. Nobody can bring it down. The government cannot bring it down, right? So they can only bring down the Web2 interface that is connecting to the blockchain system. But to bring down the application that is sitting on the blockchain, that is not possible. And that's why they're even advocating for a social media that will be on decentralized blockchain. For example, now what happened in the US election where Trump was almost knocked out of all the whole social media platform on a decentralized social media application. I don't think that can be possible. Then aid tracking, yes. This can actually be used. The blockchain can be used for distributing chats, which is for aid distribution to the people that are in the society and all that, call it chats.cash. So it's already happening, and then we are looking forward to that. Supply chain, I think this has already been mentioned too. Healthcare too, right? We're already seeing solutions in healthcare. Asset tokenization. Now, this is one I really want to dwell a little bit more about. I don't know if my time is up. I don't know how long that's. Tokenization, asset tokenization is really gaining ground. You see people tokenizing physical assets, even virtual assets like Bitcoin and other stuff are also being tokenized. So what's the saying? Why tokenization now? How does this work? So you have an asset that is costing like $100,000. Now you break it down with the aid of the blockchain. Remember I said the blockchain actually enabled a value transfer easily from one person to another. You don't even need an intermediary or a middleman to sit in between and all that. So once it is broken down to tiny pieces, which we call tokens on the blockchain, you can see people can easily come in and just buy those tokens and easily transfer from one person to another. So you don't need to go through government regulations and all those stuff to do that. So, but on this aspect, when it comes to what we call a security token, right? I think the regulation needs to be met in some certain areas. Like in Nigeria here, the SEC came out last year to say, okay, any token you are creating is actually a security token. So if you are going to tokenize a building, if you are going to tokenize any asset, it's a security token until you prove otherwise. There's utility tokens and all that. So regulations is catching up when it comes to creating such kind of solutions or such kind of money yielding venture using the blockchain. We have a startup that's already working on things like this, houseafrica.io. Now, the CBDC, so I think this has already been mentioned, and I would like to permit me to skip that. Now, valuation criteria to consider for the use cases, right? So you want to create a blockchain solution. Now, what do you consider? Now, this is more of like an easy way for you to know if you should go to blockchain or you should not go to blockchain. Are you trying to remove intermediaries or blockchain? Are you working with digital assets, virtual physical versus physical assets? If yes, continue. If no, so I will leave this slide a little, just some seconds for you to just read and get a grasp of what to yes and no when you're trying to work on a blockchain solution, if it is needed or if it is not needed. Going to the next slide now. You need to rely on trusted parties. No, continue. Yes. Good. creating a blockchain solution and the criteria, because if you do not think properly about it, you need to think about the software that will be created, you need to think about the maintenance, you need to think about the cost of doing that and all that before delving into it. So you need to be very certain that you really need to have or use a blockchain for whatever solution you want to do. Blockchain adoption challenges. I think this has been covered, so permit me to skip this. Now, which blockchain to use? Private blockchain consensus. Okay, I think I already mentioned this in the course of my talking. On-chain data with Web2 application. So now also, another way you can create a solution on the blockchain is storing data, right? Some solutions that we have seen stored, they just want to use the blockchain to store data due to the fact that the blockchain is quite immutable, right? That's data cannot be changed on the blockchain. And if you have a solution that you do not have one person owning that solution, you have maybe different government agencies that don't trust each other, right? And then they need to access that same data that you can use the blockchain. So now for such kind of a solution, you see people creating Web2. That is, Web2 is more of like the normal solutions we use in creating our normal applications, right? Like Facebook, Google, and all that. Those are like Web2 applications that are being used to create them, right? So now, for some, they use the blockchain as their database, and then they use other Web2 technologies to connect to the blockchain itself. Then you have the censorship resistant app, which was what I was talking about previously, where an application you are creating is sitting on the blockchain. No Jupyter can bring it down, right? No force of nature or government can actually bring down such kind of an application. For example, Uniswap. Uniswap is actually a decentralized exchange. They are decentralized exchange. Let me leave it at that. Now, recently they almost had issues with the US government, right? Like, why are you guys creating such kind of a solution and all that? And then the foundation came out and said, no, what we just created was, we created an interface, right, that will communicate with the application that is already sitting on the blockchain, right? So, and anybody can actually create an interface that will communicate with the application because it's already sitting on the blockchain, right? It is there. The only thing that can change or make the code in that application to be edited is when the community agrees that, yes, we want to change this code and all the stuff on the application and all that. So censorship resistance application, as a company, you might not really need to create a censorship, such kind of application, right? Because you're running a business and business is dynamic. So most often you need to like edit or change some part of your code on the application that is sitting on the blockchain. And that's why you need to create what we call an upgradable smart contract, because the decentralized application that is sitting on the blockchain is running on a smart contract. So for a way, remember I said data on the blockchain, right, are immutable. So, but a way have actually been found to upgrade contracts, right, to change the business logic of a contract that is sitting on the blockchain for businesses, even for decentralized businesses that are already using it, right?
Charles' network has taken him off again.
When you come back, you can just round up so that we can be able to answer questions.
All right, let's just wait a bit for him to get back.
Sorry for the interruption, everyone.
But in the meantime, we can answer some questions in the chat box for Rosalie.
All right. Okay. So we have some questions here. He's back.
Sorry. Don't know why my network is just throwing me out. All right. Okay. So now self-managed blockchain versus blockchain as a service. Remember, I was talking about you can deploy your own private blockchain, right? And for organizations like central banks, maybe due to the countries and regulation and all that has to do with cloud, like here in Nigeria, data are meant to still reside within our geographical location instead of outside when it comes to solutions like that. So for organizations like the central banks, right, they need to deploy their own private blockchain, right? And deploying their private blockchain involves them having their own nodes, which is more of like the computer systems or the servers that will be part of the network to form the blockchain itself that will be running the blockchain. So things to consider when you're running a self-managed, privately deployed blockchain is the internal team capacity, right? You need capacity in order for you to do that. And currently, though, people like us are actually being sorted after due to the fact that the space is still new, right? And then developers or people that are quite knowledgeable technically are not that much. So for you, before you think of this, before you think of deploying the private blockchain, you need to consider your internal team capacity management and all that, security patches and updates and all that. Then if you're going to use the blockchain as a service, services that are like blockchain services that are being provided by maybe Microsoft or AWS or other companies that provide cloud services, things to consider. The abrupt end of a service, right? The company can come and say, hey, we're not making enough profits with this service, we are going to shut it down. And then they send you an email that, we're shutting this thing down in the next 3 to 4 months. You start running around thinking about how to continue your service and all that. Now, the provided node security and provided node resource and capacity. So some of these, the blockchains, right, that are being used for these services, that's the blockchain client that are being used for these services, the nodes might not really be up to the required capacity in order for it to give you the exact throughput. Let's say you want to run a transaction, maybe 10,000 transactions per second, right? You need a node that has such capacity to do that. And these services, they might not be using such node to provide you their blockchain service and all that. So these are some of the decisions, or these are some of the things you need to think about when you want to use a blockchain as a service, or you want to run your own blockchain system privately. Then building a blockchain application, things to consider too. Our advice, based on experience, let it be API driven in such a way that you can easily create multiple layers of channel that will communicate with the blockchain, with the application you are building. Consider your contracts to be upgradable. Modularize the architecture of the smart contracts. Secure key management storage system, secure key management system, access-based layer, your compliance team, and then the security of the server cloud system itself. All right, then finally, some blockchain clients that you can actually consider using. Some blockchain clients you can actually consider using to run your own private blockchain. You have Bantu by Interstellar, you have Quorum, you have Hyperledger, you have Bitcoin SV, you have Hedera Hashgraph, Coda 3T, and then Tendermint. So that's all I have to say for this session. And if you have any questions, I think I'm free to listen to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charles. That was such a fantastic session. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, especially I think one of the key terminologies I learned was JOMO, joy of missing out. I don't think I've heard that before, and thank you for bringing that to mind. So thank you very much for the session. It was so fantastic. So we have quite a number of questions, and I'd love for you and Rosaline to, help us answer some of the questions. And let's go through the questions. So we have quite a number of questions that have been asked. And if you have any question to ask, you can just raise your hands and then we can, give you the floor so you can ask your question, just in case you have a question that we miss out here. So for Rosalind, someone has a question, and we see a rise in fintech companies over the last years in Africa, meaning KYC, EDD processes are all online, leading to a rise in identity theft and fraud. How can fintech companies apply the blockchain, right? Is that the question? Yeah, I think so. So, Rosalind.
All right. I made a comment in the third section in that regard. So just trying to find what I had noted. All right. In terms of fintech companies, they really have a headache in terms of KYC because there's no current law that mandates someone to share their data across different financial institutions, right? But they can use internal mechanisms to verify personal data using the blockchain. But in terms of identity theft, there's a bit of a three-way solution that people need to consider. And that is that you need to empower staff, you need to empower the users themselves, and you need to synchronize across different platforms, okay? So what does that mean, or what does that look like? So let's see here. First, that companies need to transition to distributed storage rather than decentralized storage. Secondly, there's a need to increase awareness on common identity attacks such as phishing, and whereby a strange entity or person tries to get your data and tries to make you reveal your personal data, and so many people are still unaware of such attacks. So no matter the security of the system, you can't stop every single customer in your company from being targeted that way. Then the third thing is that there's a need to increase internal training mechanisms so that staff are also not vulnerable to data attacks or attacks of that nature, so that you have a three-way solution to identity theft. I hope it's clear.
Yes. Okay. Is it clear to the person who asked the question? So, because I don't think I should be saying whether it's clear or not.
Okay, no,
but I hope Rosalind did justice to that because it's clear to me. So we have another question. How did the blockchain come about? Who is the owner of? I think you have answered this. Who is the owner of the technology? Okay.
Now, Mr. Godfrey, he raises his hand to quickly ask his question while we check the rest of the question on the chat later.
Mr. Godfrey, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you very much. I've just gone through a recent COVID. My concern or discomfort currently is about the sense of insecurity on the side of governments when it comes to the application, if the main perception is around cryptocurrencies. Recently, for example, in China, you have seen a lot of crypto-related activities being shut down obviously of energy and other dynamics. But I've been looking at that and wondering if this is more to do with the insecurity of state, and in this case, whether it's a communist state, or will this be the kind of trend that we'll begin to see throughout the whole world, where governments becomes very overprotective to some of the services that would otherwise be running. What is happening currently around the world is the centralized digital currencies for many countries and central banks that are trying to adopt. I'm sure that the governor of the Reserve Bank in Nigeria is also on that project, and as I understand. But the regulations being promulgated related to managing that national digital asset seems to be creating an animosity against the private operators within a particular jurisdiction. And I don't know whether that is an act for existential survival for the state-operated blockchain-based applications, where they don't want any competition with private operators, or what is your take with regard to that kind of public behavior or government behavior? And that's for me my current kind of interest in the space or ecology of a blockchain system across the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think Charles, you can speak to that.
Okay, if I really get it clear, because it was breaking, I don't know if it's from my end. The government's reaction to the use of blockchain system, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, well, we've seen it all. It's almost everywhere, right? First of all, the government was ignoring the blockchain system. Then later on, they started creating FUD, that is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Later on, they started clamping down on blockchain solutions and the cryptocurrency. But right now, they are coming in. And what they are coming in to do, CBDC, we've seen the use of CBDC. We've also seen some governments, like in the US, approving banks to be custodial, to approving some financial institutions, not just banks, to custody digital assets, and or even to help their clients to buy derivatives and ETFs of the Bitcoin or the Bitcoin system and all that. So I think it's just a matter of time, right, before the government accepts that this has come to stay. Some are still hiding. Some don't want to come out publicly to say, no, yes, we are going to accept this, but they find a way to silently accept it. And countries like China, I think China is a communist country. So whatever they are doing now is just to safeguard and push their digital currency, right? They want people to make use of their digital currencies and all that. So, but for other countries that are practicing democracy, and then that are trying to see how to create their own CBDC, their own CBDC is a way of fighting the current popularity of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But that is a wrong way to go, because cryptocurrency as it is a movement on its own, right? Because if a country's currency or the inflation in a country is quite high, people or the citizens will definitely find a way of preserving their hard-earned wealth. And what the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency is doing is helping them to preserve what they've legally worked for, right? So I think it's a fight that will keep on going. It will keep going on, and the government will definitely align as it is, right? As time goes on, they will align, but that shouldn't stop those that are providing solutions to stop building their solution. Now, what we are doing in some government interactions that we've had, especially with regulators, is to actually educate them that the blockchain is not all about cryptocurrencies, right? You have other solutions that can actually be on the blockchain itself. You have other applications, other industry applications that the blockchain can actually come to solve. And that is why, even at the hub, the blockchain hub we focus on socially impactful projects, right? That will help people to see that it's not just all about trading, right? It's not all about just holding coins. It's not all about creating fear and buying and selling and all those stuff. We can actually make do with the blockchain in providing a free and fair election, in aid transfer, in breaking down in real estate, using tokenization in real estate and all that, in certificate forgery and all that. So there are a whole lot which I think education should be put in place, right, for those that don't know. But for those governments that know, it's just a matter of time before they come to accept that, yes, we can't hide anymore.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Rebecca, please.
All right. Thank you. So we are going to move to the.
No, I was saying thanks. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to the next question in the chat box. Oh, we do have another hand raised. Neodushima Fidele. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Okay, thank you. My name is Fidele Neodushima. I was just asking, as you have said, as Mwanjiru have said, Dubai and Estonia have accepted the concept of cryptocurrency. And I was asking myself, what are African countries waiting for as they see that blockchain industry is going day by day? And what country of Africa are waiting for, especially my country, Rwanda? What is it waiting for? And the second question is, do we have some coins of African or made from Africa right now on the market? And the third question is Africa blockchain working on creating a cryptocurrency for Africa, or it is just explaining to Africans what blockchain is? Thank you.
So please allow me to answer first part of the questions while we allow the rest to. So Fidel, thanks for the question. Fortunately, I mean, we are based in Rwanda, as can see with your name. We're based in Kigali, Rwanda, and we're closely working with the government, especially the Ministry of ICT and RISA, Rwanda Information Society Authority. So from the last question, we don't create tokens, we don't create coins. We are focusing more on building blockchain capacities across the continent. So through our programs, incubated through our programs to go ahead and work around the fintech use of blockchain. Some can go into real estate, some can go in supply logistics, some can go into health technology. But what we do is to make sure we give as many capacities as possible to several folks that want to make use of blockchain technology. And talking about same in Rwanda, I mean, I don't know whether you're conversant what is going on. Rwanda just finished the pilot project for the land title in Gasabo district. So, and right now, they just call for application for the full implementation of the blockchain technology throughout Kigali and also the rest part of Rwanda. So I guess this, we should answer some of your questions. Why I hope the rest of the speaker will also chip in one or two as regards your question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The first question is if Africa is doing anything about getting involved in the blockchain, right? I think Roslyn should be able to answer that. Roslyn, can you please help us with an answer to that question?
Since our mic is muted.
Okay.
Yes, Charles can also say something on this.
You can answer the second question. Are there any African coins that are available for Africans?
Yes, there are African coins. However, I'll encourage anyone who's interested in delving into cryptocurrencies to do quite a bit of research before investing in digital currencies, because just like with stocks or any other investments that involve your finances, you need to employ due diligence before putting in your money. But there are, yes, African projects and tokens which are listed.
All right, thank you. So what is keeping Africa back from participating in the blockchain actively?
Can I come in on that? So
Yes.
recently, there's this report that was released by Chain Analysis, and then it says that African value in the whole crypto space, right, world crypto value is just 3%, right? Now, compared to other regions, it's more of like 96 to 4%, right? And that's due to our own purchasing strength is not that high, right? So we are more of like consumers, right, currently as it is. Now, but that is actually changing, right? Because we have seen solutions and projects coming up. We have seen some miners, right, down here in the continent, people mining, joining the mining network. We have seen VCs coming in to fund projects that are building blockchain solutions and all that. So we're already growing, right? It's just a matter of time for we Africans to still push such solutions out, not just about the coin, right? I always try to discourage people about you just want to come and buy coin and all those stuff, or you just want to create a solution in order for you to sell your token to the public and all this stuff. No, it should be about the business. It should be about changing lives. It should be more about how impactful it should be, right? How impactful that solution should be. So concentrate on that, and then the money definitely will come, right? So don't focus on I'm not saying it's bad, right, to want to buy tokens and all the stuff, but still, let's build us last longer.
All right, thank you for that. Fidel, I hope that answered your question. Okay, we have another question. Do I have to pay to use the blockchain? Rosalind, do I have to pay to use the blockchain?
No, you don't have to pay unless you're doing specific transactions like publishing a contract or interacting with the smart contracts.
Okay. With the laws.
So indirectly, you are paid. if you are going to do something that you have to change the state of the blockchain, that means you are paying. Except you are calling something, or maybe just want to check a record, you don't pay. But for private blockchains, right? For private blockchains, you don't actually pay anything, right? It's free to send the transaction and then to call to call a record from the blockchain and all that. That is why it's private, it's faster, and then the transaction costs and all that are actually removed from the whole mix of it.
Okay, so technically you don't pay, but at the same time you still have to pay if you're carrying out certain transactions.
Yeah, if you're carrying out transactions, you pay. Like Rosalind just said, yeah. But if you're calling, maybe trying to check a record or something like that, there are some extent that you don't pay.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, will the laws of some countries not infringe on the use of blockchain operations?
I think it should be the other way around, right, Rosalind? It should be the other way around, because you have the blockchain as it is, contradicting, or how do I put this? It is not in line with what some countries want, right? Like, for example, now some countries, especially African countries, depend heavily on inflow from remittances, right? And now that inflow helps in the central banks are earning from it, right? And then they can tax you and all that if you use if you use the fiat currency. But with the blockchain or with the cryptocurrency, this is out of the control of government, right? And government won't want that because they cannot tax it, they are not seeing revenue, right? And then for bad actors, this can actually be used to fund terrorism and all that. So there are two sides to it, right? The government is not happy, that the blockchain is there, but they have to come in order for them to be able to regulate and then create policies that will actually encourage the good use of the blockchain system itself. Because it's more of like a child that they cannot chase away, because if they chase it away, it's going to go and do something that will come back to haunt them. So the best thing for them to do, and they cannot pin down the child, they cannot hold the child down. So the best thing for them to do is to follow the child and see how to guide the child.
All right. Thank you. So we have another question, and I think, Charles, this would be for you. Is there any experience in a product or technology that the blockchain is okay? No, I think Kayode will be in a best position to answer this. Is there any experience in a product or technology that the Blockchain Institute has made or owned?
So as I mentioned earlier, we work with people, startups, and also individuals that like now this year, we just rounded up the first Africa blockchain incubation. We focus more on in Rwanda. So we incubated 4 startups, 2 focusing on agriculture, 1 on e-commerce, the last one on digital identity. So what we do is to make sure we work with individuals or startups that want to do something around blockchain technology. From there, we're able to grow our portfolio to able to increase the adoption of blockchain across Africa, and which we also have the next incubation program by March next year as well, focusing on other African countries to make sure this adoption go around as much as possible. So please, what's the second question as well?
No, he's asking if the Blockchain Institute owns any technology or
Oh no, we don't own technology. I mean, we work with several technology platforms. Right now, we work initially with MakerDAO platform. We're now working with Agron Foundation. I mean, we obviously Ethereum is open to everybody, and same also Solana as well, and some other upcoming blockchain platforms. So we don't own, and that question is very interesting in the sense that to own a particular blockchain, I just hope we understand how magnitude that means. I mean, you need to have a lot of investment, you need to have bulk of blockchain engineer. As Charles mentioned, people like Charles are very rare to meet on the continent. Charles is a system architect. So to also meet the system architect in Africa that also help you to work on a blockchain project are also very rare. More reason why we make sure we come with as many programs as possible to try and forestall that missing gap of not having blockchain developer on the continent. So that's why we don't rather we work with a system blockchain platform to build on them and also make sure we solve societal issues here on the continent.
Okay, someone has a question about how will the current UNAM ABI ensure a policy is promulgated, and I don't think I can see the rest of the question.
Okay, on that, currently I also asked Dr. Nugulu to speak on it. I'm sure all this will be presented at the end of the meeting today. So these are ongoing conversation. What we can do is to make sure we also understand the current policy climate in Namibia and see how best we could bring us a suggestion. Like again, people like Charles and also the crew of Conversity contributed to the now era that we all are hearing about Nigeria. I mean, folks like Charles are people that actually contributed to the era that we are all hearing. And also in Kenya as well, folks like Rosalie Wanjiru are the one contributing because she's working with the Kenya task force, AI and decentralization task force to also see how they can come up with policy in Kenya as well. So these guys actually putting things together to make sure that there's policy, a fair policy for both the players and also for the government. But for Namibia, it's an ongoing convention, and I'm sure Dr. Nogulu will speak more on this later towards the end of this program.
Okay. We have more questions from Govi. Well, with the availability of blockchain, up to when do we still need to retain old brokerage institutions such as the National Qualification Authority, the banks, etc., if most of these services can be provided by if most of the services provided by blockchain are peer-to-peer? So how long do you think we are going to need, the traditional system? And since the blockchain is gaining, more adoption now. Rosalind, can you please help us with an answer?
All right. So in terms of legacy institutions, you realize that many of them are serving the majority who are yet to interact with these decentralized systems. So the thing is that we can't exactly expect everybody to just switch to blockchain. It takes time. Same way that we've taken time to get familiarized with the Zooms, the Facebooks, the most internet and online systems. So it'll take quite some time and quite a lot of education before, and of course, user experience improvement so that most people are able to switch then from centralized to decentralized systems. But it definitely will take quite a lot of time.
All right. Thank you. It'll take a lot of time, but we'll get there someday. Okay. Most of these questions have been answered in the chat box. Do we have any other question from the audience? You can just raise your hand if there's no other question. I think we can move on to the next item. Do you have any other question? Any other question? Okay. And let's move to the last item. Would like to call on Dr. Samuel Ngodu, who is the HOD of the Department of Computing, Mathematical and Statistical Science, University of Namibia, to give us the closing remark and vote of thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can, sir.
And good afternoon to everyone who joined in. Thank you very much for joining this session. And thank you to the organizers from African Blockchain Institute and the University of Namibia, and as well as to you, Rebecca, for facilitating this workshop. And also to the presenters, Roslyn and Charles. So thank you very much for those very interesting presentation. Indeed, this workshop was one of the many activities, or rather, that we have in plan as part of the implementation of our MOU between the University of Namibia and the African Blockchain Institute. And the idea is that, of course, a series of other activities and short courses and trainings of this nature would also follow. As I've also seen, there are some questions also relating to if there are opportunities for training within the concepts of blockchain technology and its application. Yes, indeed, this is part of the plan, and we will actually send out invites whenever some of those trainings are available. And we hope, of course, to also implement, or the key focus is basically to implement a much more bigger program, which is the MSc degree in blockchain technology. And of course, with an intention of creating local capacity, addressing issues of the use of blockchain. And as you have seen in the presentations, blockchain can be applied in diverse areas in agriculture. You find it in land tenure. There is quite a lot of applications in financial technology, in what we call now fintech. So it was really going to benefit us as a country, and of course our economy in terms of digitizing most of these operations. and also ensuring that there is quite adoption of the technology moving forward. And also I've seen there was a question that pertains to issues of policies, of course, in terms of adoption of this technology. Yes, of course, part of our engagement are also to create local awareness, whether it's in terms of policy and also setting up a platform for us to discuss issues that pertains to the technology. Yes, of course, we will and we hope to engage many stakeholders in such areas to also create the culture of adoption of blockchain technology locally here in Namibia, and also create the capacity within the country so as to also, this is also part of the realization or rather adoption of the fourth industrial revolution, because we can't do that without some of these sort of technologies. And us as a Department of Computing, Mathematics and Statistics at the university are actually tasked with this responsibility to ensure that such is taking place. And we will, of course, through our engagement with ABI, we will ensure that such is happening. And we will rely on our many stakeholders also to always coming. And we were hoping actually to get as many as possible. And we're very happy to those that joined in. And we hope that this workshop has really created an impression about what the technology is about, and where do you fit in, or how does one benefit in that blockchain ecosystem. So with that being said, I would like to thank everyone for joining in, and we will, of course, engage you in future if there are any opportunities, for example, workshops of this nature and some short trainings that we are planning with the African Blockchain Institute, and also towards, of course, the end of then implementing a much more bigger plan of a master's degree in blockchain technology. And we hope that, of course, there will be interest from all stakeholders, of course. We have seen application in agriculture, application in banking, application in insurance. So we hope that this program will receive the necessary attention and support that it needs from our own local stakeholders. Okay, so Rebecca, to Kayode also from the IBO, thank you for organizing this. And yeah, over to you.
Very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ngulu. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. It has been such a wonderful, wonderful time. I don't even have words to, describe how exciting the sessions has been, from Rosalind's session down to Charles's session. It was fantastic. I did learn quite a lot, and I hope you did too. Thank you very much. And subsequently, if there are other events, ABI will inform you, and then, we can also get to participate in something as wonderful as this again. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you, UNAM. Thank you, ABI. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you to our facilitators also, Rosalind and Charles. Thank you very much. And so I think at this point, we get to call it a day. So see you in our next blockchain workshop.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good afternoon or good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you next.
Thank you for a nice session. Bye.